everyone, and welcome to our self-converted van tour. We bought this van how many years ago?
2021, so 3 years ago.
3 years ago, going on 4, and out of the 3.5 years that we've had it, we've spent 2 years living in the van. So
a long time.
A long time. When we first bought this, it was a completely empty cargo van, literally just the shell, and we have slowly built it up over the years. Ezra, my husband, is a carpenter, and so he built most of the van, but we did do some of it together, I guess. The entire fit out and conversion of the van is self-converted. We did it on our own. The thing that we did have professionally installed is all of our electrical work, just because we didn't want to wing that. We have no idea what to do when it comes to electrical, and we just wanted a professional to make sure that everything was up to standard and that we could get the van properly insured and that sort of thing. So with all of that said, it is now actually time to sell the van, which is so crazy to say. There was definitely a time in our lives where we thought we would have it in the family forever, but I am actually 12 weeks pregnant, so we have this little bean coming in the next few months. We just love this van so much. We put our heart and soul into it, and
blood, sweat and tears.
Blood, sweat and tears. And so we just want someone to be able to enjoy it as much as we did. And moving into this season of motherhood and fatherhood, we just know that we're not going to use it as much as we want to, so it's time to move it on. The handover is tomorrow, so we thought we would film this today. I will as well just preface that everything in the van is empty, so it's not going to look exactly like how it did when we were living in it, because obviously our drawers were full, our storage containers were full, but as we're doing the tour I will explain what we used each compartment and each drawer for. With all of that said, I think it's time to go for the tour. We'll start off in the kitchen. I love it all, but the kitchen is one of my favorite places in here. So this bench we actually cut and stained and sealed by ourselves. This was actually our second bench. We had one originally that was a little bit thinner, but I didn't like the look of it. We cut, we fit, we stained the other one, and then right before we put it in, I said to Ezra, honey, I don't like it. So we actually went out to Bunnings and bought an entire new bench that we could start from scratch with. So fun fact, this is actually the second bench technically to be in here. Coming down here, something that was really important for us both was that we had a lot of storage. Under our sink, we have a 5-litre Duetto hot water system. We have these PureTech water filters which make our water taste so good and so fresh. Down here is our water pump, and then obviously all of that piping and tubing connects to the water tank, which is mounted underneath the van, and to the water fill-up point, which is just outside. Our entire plumbing and water system, which is pretty limited, it is only our sink, as we don't have a toilet or shower in here, but it was all installed by the professional that did all of our electrical work as well, because that was something that, again, we just wanted someone who knew what they were doing to do it. So I'm glad we got all of that installed by a professional. I think those things are really important, especially if you're not confident. However, people put their own plumbing and electrical systems in their vans by themselves all the time with no experience. So if you've done that, props to you. I just don't think we were that confident. This was also where we kept our bin, so we just had like a general waste bin in here, and it fit perfectly in that space. We have some AdBlue because our van is a diesel and you never know when you might need AdBlue, and we kept just a few other little cleaning supplies as well, like a dustpan and broom and that sort of thing. So moving on to the rest of the kitchen, we have 4 of these drawers which we hand built. Our top drawer was where we kept all of our cutlery. At the moment we just have our phones in here, but you can see how far out these come. It was really important to us that we maximized as much space as we possibly could, so we could fit so much in here. We had a cutlery drawer, all of our utensils, our spices were down the side, and yeah, this drawer was just so handy to have. It basically housed everything that we needed with regards to cooking. We had like a knife set in here, so we loved that. As we go down the drawers, you'll notice that they gradually get bigger. Before we built them, we actually had already planned what we were going to be putting in each one, so we made it functional to exactly what the use for it was going to be. So this drawer was used for all of our plates, bowls, glassware, mugs, basically anything that we could stack on top of each other, I guess. You'll see how deep it is. We put non-slip mats, so kind of like grippy paper almost, in between every bowl or cup or plate, and that worked really well. We had no casualties the entire time that we lived in the van and drove the van. All of our drawers and cupboards are on these little latches. I think they're like ballpoint latches, and they just connect the face of the drawer to the inside of the cabinet, which has worked really, really well for us. As I close the drawer, you'll hear it kind of click and pop into the latch. That manages to keep it really secure, and it's kept it really sturdy. And one thing that I didn't want was having like a strap across the drawers to keep them in place, which I do see other campers doing. I'm very much a perfectionist, and so I just wanted it to look really pretty on the outside, and I wanted the latches to be something that you couldn't actually see, but they were still functional. So this has been a really happy medium. We have them on literally everything in here. In this bottom drawer is basically where we kept all of our larger appliances. As you can tell, it is quite marked up because we had a lot of big things in here, but it is very, very deep, which meant that we were able to keep things like a juicer, our camp oven or cook stove, and other little gadgets in there as well. So that worked perfectly for that. There is so much storage, and we actually managed to keep a lot in there. This drawer here is basically where we kept everything else that wasn't necessarily a kitchen gadget. This was just like our knickknacks drawer. So we had books in here, board games, spare fuses, basically anything that was just really random or that didn't have a home, we kept in here. This fridge, when we bought it, and even now still, is our pride and joy of the entire van. I think first of all, having the black is such a feature, especially with the black lining of the window and everything else being white in here. But other than that, in terms of the tech specs, it is probably the best fridge that you could get if you had a van. It is the Bushman's fridge. It's a 12 volt, so it runs off very minimal power. It's got a really powerful freezer. This is the 130 litre, and we just truly were able to fit so much in here, at least a week's worth of groceries, and just so much in the freezer, which was such a blessing. Moving over here to our sink and the rest of our kitchen area, it again was really important for me to have a large sink because I wanted to be able to wash like a big pot or a big pan. I wanted to be able to have the room to maybe do laundry, which we did do in this sink, and that was very effective. But I really just wanted a nice big deep sink, and this one is perfect. Our tapware is beautiful as well, and we do have running water, which is so handy. There is an 80 litre freshwater tank mounted underneath the van, and then a 60 litre grey water tank also mounted underneath the van. So we had enough water to usually last us around 4 to 5 days, I would say. There are water fill up points everywhere, so we never were concerned with having to fill our tanks again. I actually did get this shelf idea from a different van lifer. I will tag them on the screen. A couple years ago they had a van and they had a beautiful white shelf that was storing some glass jars, and I knew immediately when I saw that it was a characteristic that I wanted in our van. Obviously we went with the brown stained timber instead of having it painted white, which I'm so glad that we did because it, I think, stands out so much and is such a feature of the van. We made this shelf from scratch. I think it was like with timber offcuts of the rest of our pieces that we had used, and it was actually one of the last things that we put together, but it's held up so well and is one of my favorite parts. Moving downwards, we did have the option to put a stovetop in here that was built into the bench, but at that point we were going to lose this drawer and also a lot of bench space, so we opted for a camp stove that we could easily set up and pack down instead, just so that I had more bench space. These tiles, fun fact, are actually just like a vinyl tile, and they came in big squares, probably about that big. Ezra cut them all down into the exact right size to have an even amount, and I glued them all down and siliconed all of them in between the cracks, which was such a big job. I think I did it at about 4 o'clock in the morning. It took me probably 4 hours, and I had like putty and silicone on my hands for weeks because obviously I am not a professional by any means, so that was a really big job, but I'm so happy with the way that it turned out. I think this lighter beige complements the depth of the two timbers right near it, and then it stands out from the stark of the white as well. I'm just really happy that we went with that colour. Now we are in the living space. Again, something that we really thought about was maximising the space that we had in here as much as we could, and so something that we came up with was this L-shaped couch. We keep this cushion and this table in the the garage, which is around the underside of the bed at the back. But having this setup basically allowed for us to then have another bed separate from ours, which was always the plan, maybe like if we had a baby or if we had a friend come and stay with us. Even without this plank of timber and this cushion, it meant that Ezra and I could sit across from each other and share a meal together or just sit and chat, and this entire setup was truly just so handy to have, and I really think that it's the best use of space. Obviously every single person is different and people's needs are going to be different, which is going to change what they want in a van, but when you are working with such a small space, every single centimetre counts. And so we thought so long and hard before we actually fitted out the build. I made little 3D models of the van and we had a few different options that we could have gone with, and we just ultimately decided that this would be the most practical one. Moving on to the storage solutions that we have here. Under this pillow you'll see that we have two separate compartments. This one is where we kept all of our winter clothes and blankets, so this was like big jackets, cardigans, things that we couldn't fit in our wardrobe, which I'll show you in a second. And then this one here was our pantry. At the moment we obviously just have our little gas cooker in there, but we were able to fit so many things in that space. Moving on to this compartment here, this was Rue's little compartment. Rue is our dog. Good boy. So in here we kept all of his harnesses, leads, his water and food bowls. We kept his food in here as well. So this compartment was solely his. Oh, and I'm just seeing now, well, I forgot that it was there.
I didn't.
Ezra wrote this when we were building. It says P and E and Rue. This here is our bedroom. We were able to put in a really cozy, comfy mattress, which again was something we really prioritized. We spend a lot of our lives in bed, and so getting a good quality sleep every night was something that we felt was really important. This is a queen size bed that way. We just had to dock probably 30 centimeters off the end to make it fit in this space properly. We did have to sleep on the diag most nights, especially in summer when it was really hot and we just wanted our own space, because Rue sleeps in the bed with us as well. And you would think he doesn't take up a lot of room because he's really small, but I feel like if you have a dog sleep in your bed, you know they always take up the most room. We thought that the perfect storage solution for our wardrobes would be under the bed. So here we've put in two drawers. The top one is a little bit more shallow than the bottom one. The top one is Ezra's because he has less clothes, and then the bottom one was mine. These drawers were a game changer. They both pull out so far, so you can see here that we actually had a lot of room, and we were able to store almost our entire wardrobes from when we lived in a house in here, minus our cold weather stuff. Coming around to the back of the van, this is what we like to call our garage. So under here we have so much storage space. This is where we kept things like our outdoor table. We have a 12-volt electric blanket, and then this is also where we keep our cushion as well. Through there you will see some of our electrical systems. So we've got our battery, our inverter, which again was all professionally installed. When we first got the van, these panels were just like grey plastic, which is what comes with it. It's just the standard paneling for the back and the side door. Actually, we've got them on the sliding door too, but grey doesn't necessarily go with my colour scheme, so I wanted to change it up a little bit. Here we've just got some paneling that I cut, stained, sealed, and we screwed in, and it just looks so great. We use this handle here to close the doors, and having that handle was really handy, no pun intended. Up the back you'll see that we have two Sirocco fans. They are both on little swivels, so we were able to angle them directly towards us, and because they were on both ends of the bed in summer, that did a really good job at keeping us cool. Right here is where we have our control panel. This is the light for under the bench, which we'll show you in a sec when we put all of the black out curtains on the windows. This is our water pump, which needs to be turned on before you use the sink. This is our inverter, so that instead of using 12 volt we can use the 240 volt power points. This here is a little gauge for our water tanks, which, like I mentioned before, are mounted underneath the van. You just press this little test button and it will tell you how full they are. So it says here reserve 50% and 100%. So this is our grey water and this is our fresh water. As you can see, our grey water tank is pretty empty at the moment, which is great, and we probably have about 65 to 70 litres in our fresh water tank. This is our light switch for the downlights that we have throughout throughout the van. They are actually on a dimmer, which you can't really tell because there's so much natural light in here. But again, once we've enclosed it all and we've put the curtains up, you'll be able to see.
I'm gonna miss that Mickey Mouse. I used to look at it every morning.
We have a random little knot in the timber, but that one looks like Mickey Mouse, so it's just a really sweet little feature. Coming into this area, this here is our dividing door. Having access to the front of the van was something that we thought was really important. We only ever stealth camped or camped up on friends' properties, so this was super handy because it meant that when we pulled up and parked somewhere, we could, instead of opening all the doors and sliding it open and making a loud sound when we close it, having this door here just meant that we could easily climb back here and hop into bed. We used this multiple times a day. It was so handy. I absolutely love the design of this. It is actually inspired by my grand's house, so it means a lot to me. She has timber doors like this all throughout her house, and the handle being that high as well was very intentional. Her handles are all a little bit higher than the standard just because it is an old house, so I wanted something that looked really similar to what she has in her home. So as you can see, we were easily able to climb through because that middle seat folds down, which was perfect for stealth camping. Behind this wall is where we kept all of our window covers. Over behind here is where we kept all of our shoes, and we were actually able to fit a lot back here, which was a great use of space as well. So we've just put all of our window covers up, and as you can tell, it is very dark in here, so they do a great job at keeping the sunlight out, which also in summer really helped us stay cool. We just wanted to show you our light system. So when we turn this dimmer light on here, it turns all of our 12-volt down lights on, so it lights it up, which is really cool. Our lights are all on a warm setting, and as I mentioned before, these ones are actually on a dimmer, so we can dim them to however light or however dark we want. The other light that we have in here is the LED strip light that we have under our shelf, which is this switch, which allows for so much light in the kitchen area while keeping the bedroom pretty dark. We wanted this light under here so that we had the option of someone being in bed and being able to get the darkness and the sleep that they needed, but then someone could also be in the kitchen at the same time doing whatever they needed to do as well. So it really just separated the two living areas, which we thought was perfect. Alright guys, I think that pretty much concludes the van tour. As I said, we had so much fun in here for the years that we did live in it, and we are so grateful that our prayers have been answered in the way that the next owners of this van, we just know, are going to treat her with so much love. We're so grateful, and we cannot believe that this chapter of our lives has come to an end. It feels like it went so quickly, but also that we've had the van for so long, all at the same time. But overall, it really just was such a sweet time in our lives, and we have so many beautiful, happy memories in here, and for that we are so grateful. Thank you guys for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!